this stuff. Let me get this. And my water. Okay. I'm always like scared to touch things with the live. I'm always scared I'm like messing it up. Hi. Hi. Hi everybody. Oh my goodness. I'm so excited. I have missed this class so much. Hi guys. So just for everyone here, just so that you guys know, I know like today was really gross. We have like a freaking storm happening. But just so everybody knows, if you guys ever want to, I'm gonna have to turn off that overhead light probably. But just if anyone wants to come by, like I said, I know it's like horrible out today. We have like all that storming and all that crazy weather. But we are going to be also having these in person and outside. So don't be afraid to like come on in and hang out. So we are just kind of going to get into it, right? We're just going to jump right into the tarot class. So tarot is such a massive subject, right? It's absolutely huge. It's been around for so long that it's really understandable that when we're first kind of walking in, there's this like, oh God, what do I do? Like, oh God, where do I start? It's really intimidating. Like, and I really don't blame or judge anyone for getting started in tarot, getting spooked off, and running away. Like, I do not blame them. It is intimidating. It's big. There's so much information. And I feel like a lot of the times people will go out of their way to make it seem inaccessible, which dumb and gatekeepy. So we're not doing that here. So I'm going to try to break this down as easy as I can for you guys. This class is super beginner friendly. If you have never picked up a tarot deck in your life, that is a-okay. If you've been reading for a while, maybe you'll learn some new useful information, because I would really like everyone to come into this class a beginner and leave relatively intermediate, or like closing in on intermediate when it comes to like their kind of understanding of the cards. Now, also, as always, if you guys have any questions, you can message me privately. I'm just some Death Witch on Instagram, so you guys can message me. You guys can leave comments. I will totally answer. I will absolutely, I'm here to help you guys, right? I'm kind of like your tarot mentor for the summer, so I'm here to help. So one of the first things that is really important when it comes to understanding working with tarot, anyone can read tarot. I'm so sick of this weird BS that they can't. Anyone can read tarot because, at least in my opinion, everyone is psychic, right? It's like a muscle that we all have in our brains. And some of us, like myself, grew up lucky enough to be using that muscle, flexing that muscle in an environment where it was supported and encouraged. So now I'm 27. I've been flexing that muscle since I was 4 years old. We're like, we got it, right? But you know, if you flexed that muscle once when you were a kid and got spooked, or someone told you it wasn't real, and then you never flexed it again, it's gonna atrophy. It's not gonna, you know, get any use. And it doesn't mean that you're not psychic. It just means that like you gotta get that muscle moving again. And it's just like when you go work out for the first time and you try to lift something and your arms are shaking and you feel so weak and dumb and embarrassed and you hate because you're in public, but like you're starting. You shouldn't be able to do all that shit right off the bat. Like, don't hold it against yourselves. So it's really important to kind of understand that building your relationship with tarot is building your relationship with your intuition. You should be understanding how your intuition best presents itself to you. Everybody's is different. That's kind of what we're going to talk about today. Just so everyone kind of knows what we're going to be going over today, we're going to talk about intuition versus impulse and what that looks like. We're going to go into, let me flip my pages. We're also going to go into the history of tarot, where it all kind of started, some really like important things. We're going to do a quick run over of the Fool's journey. And like, if we have time, I will start with the Fool. If we don't have time, then we will start that next class. So right off the bat, stop thinking you are automatically clairvoyant, and stop getting mad when you're not clairvoyant, and stop thinking you're not psychic when you're not clairvoyant. Clairvoyant doesn't mean psychic. I know that that's become like an interchangeable term. It is not the same thing. All clairvoyant means is you see stuff with your eyeballs. That's it. That's it. When I tell you, I've been a practicing psychic for 15 years. I only just started using... Yeah, I didn't know we had people. Okay. We have people. Oh, we got late showers. Yeah. Alrighty. So I'm just going to rotate. Hi.
Hello.
I am just moving this. Sorry we're inside for the day. The storm is not great.
It's
So
okay.
we're making it work.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Hi, get cozy.
Hi.
Get on squeeze on one.
We could squeeze on one.
Act like you like each other.
We could squeeze
No,
on
we're
one.
gonna
chair.
get you a chair.
Are you sure?
Don't be
Oh,
silly.
no, it's okay.
That was so loud.
We can share.
I think six crisscross applesauce.
Could you just grab me one more chair?
No,
Thank you. Okay, let me put that here. They're probably so confused. They got the most unflattering angle of my face. Holy crap. Y'all are lucky I look pretty most of the time because, like, that was not a good angle. You know those times when someone catches you at the wrong angle? You're like, no, I'm hot. I promise. I promise I'm so hot. You just call me on a bad day. Like, God. So, basically, you guys came in super early, so don't worry about it. We were talking about, like, how right off the bat everybody can read tarot and like screw the gatekeepy bullshit that like people can't. That's so funny. And we were talking about how, like I said, understanding when you're getting started, intuition versus impulse. And when it comes to figuring out your psychic stuff, one of the things I said right before you guys came in is like, stop thinking you're not psychic just because you're not clairvoyant. Like I said, clairvoyant and psychic, not the same thing. Clairvoyant just means you see shit with your eyeballs. That is all that it means. Like I said, I've been a practicing psychic for 15 years. I didn't start seeing stuff with my eyeballs until I was like, 4 years ago. Like that just started.
Okay.
I was doing professional readings with other gifts than my clairvoyance, and even then when I take people upstairs, 9 times out of 10, my eyeballs like don't turn on. Like it just doesn't happen. It's not my main gift. So when it comes to kind of understanding all the different clairs, this is going to be how you read the cards. So it's really important to understand which of your clairs you're working with. So the first one, like I said, clairvoyance, that's seeing stuff with your eyes. Sometimes it can happen up here, but usually it's with your eyeballs. Then, moving on down, we have clairaudience. That's when you hear stuff. Let me see. Honestly, even if it's like little stuff, you're going to hear stuff. Also, then we have clairsentience. That's your gut feelings. Then we have clairalience, I never say it right, but it's people who smell stuff, which that's always a really cool gift.
That is really cool.
Then we have clairgustance, another weird word. It's for people who taste things. And then we have claircognizance, which is my favorite gift. It's the one I work with. It's when you just kind of know shit. So like, and also a lot of the times when we're practicing, claircognizance is usually the first one to come to us. And something that's important, it's not the same for everybody across the board, but depending on your zodiac sign, you can kind of get a pretty good understanding of what gifts might show up first. I tend to find fire signs are really in their gut. They taste a lot of things, and they also tend to just kind of know stuff. Air signs, it's always claircognizance. That is always the first one with air signs. It will make, like literally almost always, it'll make its way down through the line with everybody else. Water signs and earth signs start as gut feelings. And like getting like up here, that's like the big one that you kind of get. Cancers will also like, I keep saying cancers. Water signs, I had a Cancer client and we talked so much shit about cancers. So now it's just, I'm a Cancer, so I can do it. But like, now it's just in my head. But those are all kind of the gifts that you're going to see. Now it's really important to, like I said, kind of just like take some time with yourself. They're all going to show up differently. Claircognizance is a really weird gift in particular. I explain all the time that like sometimes I get my information, it feels like a bullet of information went through my head and it's gone as quick as it came. Sometimes it literally feels like impulse. Like I said, trust your gut feeling. The hardest thing is going to be learning the difference between intuition and impulse. Literally, I think the only people who can tell the difference are clairvoyants because they're actually seeing stuff with their eyeballs. Like, other than that, the rest of us are gonna go, is that a thing? Or what? Like, I do it in my house all the time. You'll just hear me start going like this and I'm like, am I psychic or do I have anxiety? And like, I'll just be around the house like stressed. And they're like, are you spiraling? I'm like, a little bit. And also sometimes intuition can turn into impulse. So I think probably the best example, and this happened really recently, my uncle was in the hospital and we were really nervous for a little bit, and my mom called me, and I looked at it. My gut fell through the floor. That's my psychic. And because instantly it fell through the floor, and I got, it's bad news. And that was psychic. Then my gut reached the floor, and it turned into, he's dead! Anxiety. I took the gut feeling and I ran 30 miles with it, and I hurt my own fucking feelings. So, like, give yourself space. Again, like, honestly, especially if you're one of the ones up in the head, if it's not the first thing that pops into your head, put it down, don't worry about it. Like, just move on. I also find you will get better at catching yourself. So, like, I lit a candle to one of my spirit members, and it was so funny because I lit it and I was like, good morning, and I got a good morning back, but I swear it echoed, it was like I sent out the thought, it bounced off the inside of my skull and came back, and I went, that was me. That was just me. And the second that happened, I got, yes it was, and that came from up, and it had weight, and it sounded like a man's voice, and I was like, oh hi, like, and then I was able to tell, because
So cool.
one of I work with Hades, so like everything comes up, like everything comes from under. It's my favorite things to tell people, like, I joke all the time when I'm like, yeah, no, like if I don't go down when I die, I'm gonna be mad as hell. And like people get nervous because they're like, I'm like, not Satan, relax. Not hell, Hades. I know it sounds really similar, but like, no, I want to go see my dad. But basically, that's kind of gonna be your best friend when you're starting. Now, like I said, intuition alone is not enough, and I'm really, really over people trying to act like that's the case. I know so many people, I've heard it on the so many times, when they're like, I can just tap into my Akashic Records. Bestie. No. Like, no. Like, listen, do you know? Yes. Do you know? Absolutely you know. You don't know. Like, so just be for real with yourself. One of my favorite things to do when I start with, like, new mentees, which I don't mentor people often because I'm mean, but, like, when I brought in a new mentee, one of the first things I did, I was like, okay, make me a protection bag. I don't know what goes in it. I didn't ask you what goes in it. Make me a protection bag. And just go nuts. Have your way with all of my shit and, like, make me a bag. And I will dump it out in front of them, and I will show how many things they got right. And they usually get a lot of shit right because they just kind of know. And, like, that is what we mean when we say that you know. Right? You do not know how to do high, complicated ceremonial magic. Like, you can't pull that out of your ass. Like, you're gonna cross a line, offend a spirit, get in trouble, and no one's gonna be able to help your ass. Like, so that's always what I say, knowledge and intuition, they need to work together, because, like, the history of the tarot is so important, culturally, universally, and we can't just act like it's not there, right? That's how we become colonizers. So, when it comes to where it all started, we can really attribute, it's really hard to get a really good grip on tarot, because the beginnings are really murky, but some of the best places that we can kind of get an understanding is that it initiated with the Roma people or the Romani people. That's kind of where we start to see a lot of it. I don't want to hear no bullshit gypsy tarot card reading stuff. No, that's a bad word. We don't call them that. Like, they're the Roma people. We're not going to turn them all into Esmeralda. No. So, like, when you do research, be careful, because a lot of people like to do that. So just take your time as you're kind of moving through it. It's really gross, and the Roma people have suffered enough, and we should just respect and thank them for their awesome contribution instead of being assholes. So when you're looking up on history, fair warning, you're going to have to rifle through a lot of weird shit and a lot of weird mysticism. It just, I tried to find like 10 tarot facts to do a TikTok, and the amount of stuff I was like, that's not true. That's not true. Who fucking told you that? Like, scrolling through, it was ridiculous. It's wild. It's the Wild West out there, man. So this is pretty much who we owe most of this to. One of the things we really start to see in the core is in Italy in around like 1430s. That's when we really start to see something that we in modern times would recognize as tarot. So basically, the standard modern deck is based off of a variation, which consists of 78 cards, and it's divided really between, 56? Yeah, 22 and 56. So we have the major arcana in 22, we have 56 of the minor arcana, and that is basically your major, is, your Fool, your Empress, your World, all that good stuff. Your minor is the one everybody hates learning. It's the Cups, it's the Wands, it's the Pentacles, it's all of that. Each suit, Cups, the Wands, the Pentacles, the swords, they all have a page, a knight, and a king, and a queen. And we're going to kind of go into what they all mean. So, like I said, one of the first times we see is 1790, I think. Is that what I put? 1750, my bad. So, tarot and cartomancy, we see it being properly written down. Like I said, 1430s in Italy is when we get like our first actual deck that we recognize. But when it's on paper, being acknowledged as a divination and a practice, is in 1750. And weirdly enough, it happened in France. It was done by this man named Jean-Baptiste Alliette. I took 4 years of French. It shows. It's probably the only thing I can do. But basically, he is famous for publishing the first definitive tarot deck and guidebook. So that's really where we start kind of seeing that, and that's also why most tarot decks are going to come with a guidebook, because thanks to Jean-Baptiste Alliette. So, like, thank you. Now, tarot decks have gone through so many iterations, but the ones that all of them are going to base themselves off of are the Rider-Waite deck, which is why usually when you're starting, I tell people to get something that is as similar to the Rider-Waite deck as possible. This is all the Rider-Waite imagery. This is all what you kind of see on it. I'm going to have so much fun breaking into the imagery of these cards. You know, the imagery of these cards is especially, where's Judgment? Where's Judgment? Judgment is probably the biggest shit show of all of them, which is why it's one of my favorite cards. Is it not on here? Oh, that's so sad. Oh, here it is. Judgment? Crazy. You want to know why there's so much shit going on here? It's the Book of Revelations. Have y'all ever read the Book of Revelations?
No, but I kind of know what
It's wild. Like,
That's crazy.
one of the most important things in witchcraft, even if you're not Christian, like I'm not Christian, read the Bible.
Yeah.
So important for witchcraft. The whole book of Psalms, just a spell book. Whole thing, just a spell book. Talk to anyone in like ATR practices, voodoo hoodoo, they use Psalms in their spell work.
Wow.
Like, I have someone who works in hoodoo and he's so funny because like, he jokes how like normal witchcraft, like Germanic and European witchcraft is like, if you piss me off, I'm going to take a candle and put a bunch of nails through it. Hoodoo is like, I'm going to send you off with a psalm and your whole life's going to be fucking ruined. Like, it's so wild. But like holy books are really important like that, and especially in stuff like this, we have to remember this was being made in a super Christianized time. So we're gonna get a lot of Christian and Bible imagery. I mean, look at the lovers. Tell me that's not Adam and Eve.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So like we're gonna see all of that. I mean, God, for God's sakes, we got angels. Like,
Right.
so it's really important to understand because the imagery of the deck is so important, especially when you're learning, because if you're stuck, tear the image apart. It will kind of like help you figure things out. That's what I used to do when I was young, and I would like flip and go. I would just start like pulling the card apart. So that's kind of going to be your best friend. Like I said, the Rider-Waite comes about in 1909. It was published giving a huge update to the cards that really hadn't been seen since Jean-Baptiste. We kind of just took it and went with it. So one of the things that we kind of see is that the cool thing about the Rider-Waite deck is that it incorporates Christian and pagan imagery in it, which pissed a lot of people off. But it makes it all the more interesting. So it's really, really cool. It has astrological things on it. It has alchemical symbols on it. So one of the things here, like on Temperance, right here, that little triangle in the middle, that's an alchemical symbol. That's one of the, it's the strongest shape. So it's meant to show strength and fortitude. I'm sure I can find another alchemical symbol somewhere in here. Like this, the pomegranate's on here. This is to symbolize Persephone. Both of these are words in Hebrew that stand for like law and order.
The medical one.
Yeah, there's, oh yeah, they have like the Asclepios thing on
Yeah.
there. Yep, this is the wand of Asclepios, which is a Greek god. You can see there's so much really cool shit going on in here. Like I could spend a whole class just going over the images, and I will. So then we don't see any really crazy updates again until the Thoth deck comes out in 1944. This was published by a very famous occultist named Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley is messy, so like while you're kind of going through that, understand it's gonna be a little messy. Do not hero worship people in the occult. So there's a lot of crazy people in there. There's a lot of people who made incredible contributions, but also did some problematic shit. So like, take your time. Aleister Crowley tends to spook a lot of people off. He thought a lot of really interesting things. He did a lot of really important things for the occult. It's also a little spooky. So like, just take your time. The Thoth deck, if you ever pick it up, ain't for beginners. That bitch is challenging. It goes in much heavier into alchemical symbols. You should know what like a transmutation circle looks like and how to make one, and not just like Full Metal Alchemist style. Like you should like know how to do it, or at least be learning about it alongside using it, because that can get to be a lot. So when it comes to actually dissecting, I'm going to start with the Major Arcana because it's so much easier. So the Major Arcana is a story, and understanding that story makes it so easy, because now if you know where you are in the story, you know what's come before, and you know where you're headed, right? So right off the bat, I can pull one card from the Major Arcana, and depending on that card I picked, I can tell you where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. And with one card, it's really impressive, but it's because you know the whole story. So like, and then just open channeling. You can get a whole reading out of that. I've had clients come in and say, can we please not use any cards? Because they have a religious thing, makes them uncomfortable, okay. So like, we don't use any cards. Yeah. So if I can pull an open channel from literally nothing, that is the best method. Of the cards are not doing it. They are a tool. They are a magnifying glass. They are a focus for your energy. You are the one doing it, not the cards. Anybody, because at the end of the day, I tell people all the time, I'm like, I swear to God, if you let a deck of playing cards spook you, I'm gonna beat you up. Like, it's a deck of cards.
Yeah.
Like, relax. Like, I could sit there and play poker with it if I wanted to. Okay, calm down. You could read tarot cards with a standard bicycle deck of cards. Like, you can read, if you know how, you can read tarot that way. So that's why I don't want to hear the like, and also stop with the weird gatekeeping mysticism. It's a deck of fucking cards. Yeah. Like, they're incredibly important. They're sacred. They're tools. They help us understand. But like, you are where the magic happens. They just kind of help you figure it out. They're a magnifying glass. So never argue with the cards. Never make yourself crazy. You are the captain of the ship. The cards are just helping you figure out where to go. And like, also understand, be careful with cards with yelling at them, because usually the advice is coming from somebody, so you're not yelling at your deck. You're yelling at whoever gave you the advice. So be respectful. I've done that a few times. I've done the thing of like, what the fuck? And then I go, excuse me? I'm like, sorry. Because the spirits I work with, I don't play those games. I don't play those games. No, I don't want to learn the hard way, because they will teach me the hard way. I like them for it. But fuck. Like, so, kind of understanding how this whole journey kind of moves through. We're going to start with the Fool. The Fool is new beginnings. You know, a lot of the times with the Fool, he is innocence and faith. He's spontaneous. He is literally buck-ass naked walking out into the world and like seeing what happens. And from the Fool, we go right into the Magician. The Magician teaches us creativity. It's our consciousness. It is our awareness. It helps us with our concentration and our willpower. It's divine manifestation. So it's like, funny comment. But like, so we're coming out of this Fool moment and we're walking into all the confidence of like our teenage years when we're like, I'm not gonna die. I can do whatever I want. And like kind of storming on in. And then the High Priestess comes in and she teaches us spirituality and helps us get in touch with our subconscious. And that's, you know, like, that's like when you're like 18 and you're like, oh man, grandma's a person and sometimes she's messy. Like, and you start like having all those realizations. You get real deep about your subconscious. You sit there and you're like, why am I the way that I am? Like having a whole moment. It's like your moment of like realization. Like the Magician is your, I am here, right? The High Priestess is, I am. And that's a weird thing to juggle with. So, like, it's a weird moment to kind of walk through. But, like, she kind of helps us through. It's a lot of existential crises. It's a lot of spiritual awakenings. It's a lot of stuff. It provides fertile ground for our creativity. Because the Divine Masculine and the Magician had us think of all these amazing ideas. And now the High Priestess can kind of, like, help us grow with that. And then we move on into the Empress, who, this is our mom, right? She's loving. She's nurturing. She guides us through after what was probably an ego death in the High Priestess. So she's like, hey, yeah, come here. Like, and really kind of just understands. It's very much, it's the touch of a mom. That's kind of what it always brings. And then following her is the Emperor, who's the dad. Like, and he comes into reality check us. He's the one who's like, yeah, the past 5 cards have been fun. Focus. Like, you got shit to do. Like, there's places to go, school, work, structure, get out there, be a man, like get your shit done, right? It's that guiding, but it's still loving, but it's a little bit stricter, it's a little bit sterner, it's kind of like pushing us through. I joke all the time that working with Aphrodite and Hades is the weirdest thing in the fucking world. And because when I tell you, Aphrodite is the Empress, that is her card. Hades is the Emperor. It is very weird having both of their energies around me. Because Aphrodite is a goddess of love and war. And when someone disrespects me, she likes to tell me how hot I would look kicking their ass. And then Hades is in the corner going, they're literally going to be dead in like 10 years. I don't know why this is important. They're going to be dead in 10. You're going to be dead in 40. This is not important.
That's so funny.
And it's so funny because he is the emperor. He's that structure. He's the like, fucking turn your hair up. Like, it's not important. Focus. Like, anyone who works with Hades, I love when people come in when they're new and they're just learning. It's so cute. They come in and they're like, so I want to work with Hades. And I'm like, oh, yes, come here. Let me tell you all about Dad. Let me give you the pitch because he's great. And I love when they're like, yeah, so like, what should I get him? Should I get like bones or like coffins? And I'm like, honestly, he probably just wants you to open a savings account. And they're like, no, but savings account. I promise. That's all he wants. Because he's the king of the dead, but he's the god of wealth. So like, that's what he rules over. He just happens to be in charge, and it's so great. It's so great. When I tell you, so he's known as like the unseen one, the hidden one. So I never see his face. I just see his hands. I don't know anyone who's ever seen his face, but it's so funny because I see him from like the neck down, and when I tell you, it's like, it's so put together. He's so well dressed. You know, like the old money thing where like there's not a single name brand, but you know the whole thing costs 10 grand.
Yes.
That's how he dresses. Like, it's so funny. What's up? Oh hi. Like it's so funny. Like I'll never forget the first thing I ever saw him in. I was so ready for like Hades, king of the underworld. Like I was ready for like a cloak and like all that like weird shit. You know what I saw walking out of the dark corner of my room? I saw nice slacks. I saw a nice like beige like cashmere turtleneck sweater and like a nice like black sports coat, and he was just walking out. He had like a fucking Rolex and like he had like a little like gold chain around one wrist, and then he just had like Super Bowl rings like on his fingers, like gold, like his wedding band, like he had like big ass rings, big sapphires and rubies, and it was just like, yo, what's up, kid? Like, so just calm.
Oh my god.
He's so funny. Like, I have, this ring is for him, the little garnet coffin. And that's why I'm covered in rings, because I work with a goddess of beauty, and I work with a god of wealth. If I'm not adorned and sparkly and jingly, they're mad at me. Like, yeah, so very handsome man. Look, it's my dad. I can't say it. Yes. Persephone's a lucky lady. That's all I'm saying. He's wonderful, and he is the emperor. Like, he comes through in that card because Hades comes into your life and gives you financial discipline. He makes you save your fucking money. He makes you be an adult. He's the person of like, yeah, I don't care if you wanted to like buy new clothes. You're an adult. Rent's due. Like, and he just like clicks you in. I think the funniest story that describes him so well is I was not saving my money, and I knew he was mad because I could feel eyeballs staring up at me. Every time I swiped my card, it was like, like just in the back corner. And I kept saying like, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it, I'm gonna do it. I had $90 in my account, exactly 90.
Yeah.
And I was so excited to go to the dispensary. So excited. And you know what happens? My dumbass pulls up, puts my car in park, ping, your payment of $90 at Apple has been verified.
What?
Tell me what the fuck I'm spending $90 for in Apple. I know I'm not. My Apple bill is like $10 a month max. So I'm like, what is happening? I open it up. So he wants me to learn Greek. He's been wanting me to learn Greek for a really long time because he's sick of speaking to me in English, which I get. It's not his native tongue, so like he's annoyed. Also because if he has it his way, I'm gonna be opening a fucking temple if he has it his way. So he's like, learn Greek. So I downloaded Duolingo and I pay for the monthly like super Duolingo to like do it more.
Yeah.
You know how much a year is? $90. And I'm sitting here looking at it going, I know for a damn fact I haven't switched it because I've been using the same thing for like 5 months, and I'm looking at it and I'm going, what the fuck? And it came so clear. He just floated on up, and it was like, funny how $90 can get you enough for like a week or, you know, a whole year's worth of education.
That's
weird how far your
crazy.
money goes, huh? And I was just like,
Oh my god.
shit, you're right. Like, I couldn't even say anything. Like, so, and that's the, tell me that's not the emperor. Tell me that's not
That's
dad
insane.
energy.
Yeah.
Like, that's not, you're being irresponsible.
That is so.
I took your card,
Yeah.
but I'm not going to punish you, like, fully I'm gonna give you something else that's for your benefit, so that maybe you can learn some responsibility. Like, that's the most dad thing ever.
Very much.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
It's so funny. What's your question?
Is it like, because I don't really know, is
Yeah.
it like you're meant to work with certain people, or is it like...
You can pick also.
Yeah.
You are free to, like, knock on anybody's door. The good thing about the pagan gods, and I don't mean shade, they answer. And they'll sit there and go, no, honey, sorry, not for me. And then they'll leave, and if they do want to work for you, you're going to know, because you're going to ugly cry. They're going to kick the door open and be like, my baby! And, like, take you, because they're always so excited. I mean, think about it. Imagine watching over someone for their entire life, from the time they're a baby, and taking care of them, loving them, worrying about them, grieving with them, giving them blessings, helping, teaching them lessons. And the whole time they have no idea you're there. The whole time they don't even think you're fucking real. Wow. They don't think you exist. And then tell me you're not gonna throw that door open and be like, oh my god, baby! Like, of course that's what they do. So, like, you'll know if they want to work with you. They'll kick the door in and be like, oh, been waiting so long. Hi. Like, awesome. The first time I ever tried, I had not deprogrammed myself from Christianity, so I was like kneeling and doing the whole thing. I was like, are you there, God? It's me, Margaret, like trying to talk to them. Yeah. When I tell you, I got knocked back on my ass. I literally was like this, and I was like, what's happening? Like, and it was Hermes, and he was just like, hi. It was so intense. God. And I was just, and it's funny, because he doesn't even work with me. He just likes to hang out. Like, he just shows up in my life sometimes, where I'll just get, hi, bye. And I'm like, I think it's because his boss is my dad. Like, I think that's why. He works for Hades. But that is such Emperor energy. And then it's funny, because we move on to the Hierophant, which is also a little Hades energy. But the Hierophant is the teacher. This is going off to college. This is like structure. This is a job. I don't like the Hierophant. It's too structured for me. I have personal beef with this card, but like, we have to give it the respect of acknowledging it. Then we go into the Lovers, and this is like, you know, romance, because like, what happens usually when you go to school, whether high school or college? You get feelings, right? Shit happens. So the Lovers, also this is connection, because this is the first time our Fool has been out of the family unit, right? It's been nothing but the divine masculine, the divine feminine, mom, dad, and teachers. So now it's friends, now it's loved ones, now it's building your own personality. The Lovers is about, it's so much more than just two naked people like making out. It's also your personal values. It's what you align yourself with. It's what's important to you. So like with the Lovers, we kind of really see all of that. Then we go into the Chariot. This teaches us willpower, because few things light a fire under our ass, like our first crush, or like getting friends, or like figuring out our values. Again, few things are gonna like, I remember being 13, and when the Coney, like, I don't know if you guys, like, the Coney thing came about. You guys are probably a little too young for it. You might have been, like, lower middle school. Coney was, from what I knew, it blew up all over the internet, and it was like, guys, there's this warlord in Africa who's, like, making children to be soldiers, and we gotta do something about it. And then, like, Coney, like, 2014, and it was, like, this whole, like, weird political thing. The way that I was, like, a fire was under my ass, because it was the first time I had ever been shown, like, global injustice, and I was like, Mom! Like, I was, like, freaking out. I was like, I gotta take this to school! We gotta do something about this! Like, I was, like, ready to, like, fly to Africa and be like, no! Like, it was so funny. I was ready to protest. You would have found me in the streets. I was like, Mom, how do people not know about this? We gotta tell people. We gotta do something. Like, it was so funny. I'm surprised nobody caught the autism. Like, you know, an overwhelming sense of justice, but nobody picked up on it. Fire under my ass. Like, that is, in a lot of ways, honestly, how the Chariot tends to work. Like, it really is the, like, I have energy, and, like, you just kind of go in, things take off, things move really quickly, and then what do you do when you take off too quickly and do too much? You probably fall on your face, and then you usually need the next card, Strength. So, like, Strength, this is true strength. This comes from patience. This takes time, and usually it requires us to cut ties, to take space, to take distance, and when all that happens, that leads us into the next card, who is the Hermit, which is literally fuck off into the mountains and, like, figure your life out and come back when you're done. I always get, like, Moses imagery from it, which is, again, funny. I'm not Christian, but, like, it's always what comes up.
The one behind you. He looks like he's like,
Sup? Like, literally, That's the hermit. So something about the hermit, oh, bye nose ring. Something about the hermit that's really important, oh wow, it got bent out of shape, is a couple different things. Not only has he taken some time by himself, another thing that's really important about the hermit with this little lantern, he can only illuminate what's exactly in front of him. So he can only see, and there's something in my throat. So he can only see like the next 3 or 4 steps ahead. He really, and that's really freaking spooky because it's a lot of like the blind leading the blind with the hermit. A lot of the times when we're in this moment, we're really lost or really confused, we're really uncertain. So it's really important that like when the hermit comes around that you really take your time to like pull in, learn the lesson, and move forward. And it's from doing that, I don't know if it's on here, yeah, that we go into the Wheel of Fortune. Because when you do this, you get here because you find what you need. And the hermit is usually you come down older and wiser and like more with your shit together. So like it's kind of easier to walk into the Wheel of Fortune to change your energy. After the Wheel of Fortune, we usually do too much again because it's a circular card. If you're here for a while, this is great. You're gonna be here. Don't be stupid. That's how it works. So like with the Wheel of Fortune, once you're down here, justice shows up. Because justice is here to teach you that there's a cause and effect to things and that your actions when you're up here have consequences.
Yeah.
And that as above, so below, baby. And like that's kind of how that's gonna work. So when justice comes, you have the next card, which is the Hanged Man, which is literally hang back and take it. Like as much as it sucks, surrender, literally just completely give yourself up to the universe and just, okay, like there's obviously this little halo around him. There's obviously a lesson I need to learn. And I'm only going to learn it if I just, and I kind of let justice kick my ass a little bit and teach me a lesson. Like that's kind of how it works. And then once you know, after the hangman, once you have this aha moment, that leads to death, which is change. Usually ego death, but like that's going to lead to some change and to some growth. You're going to make these necessary changes that you didn't know you needed to make until after you just kind of said fuck it and like surrender to the universe. And then after death, we get temperance, which is emotional balance and things like, it's kind of like, honestly, it's kind of our first pit stop. It's our first rest stop. It's our first like, hey, that was a lot. Are you okay? Like helping you cool off. We're not going to see another pit stop for like a minute and we're going to get some really crazy shit in between the temperance and now. Because you get into temperance and you're finally comfy. After all that change and all that upheaval and all that crazy shit, are you going to want to move again? Of course not. Like, you're comfy. It's better now. Why would I want to do that again? And like you lean into this and temperance takes us right to the devil because we stay in our comfort zone too long out of selfishness and fear of moving forward. The devil is not knowing when to separate yourself from something. It's addiction. It's hello. It's not knowing how to take your necessary space. Like to me, the devil, I always get the same imagery in my head every time. And it's like, you know when you really, really want to break up with somebody, but it's their birthday, and then it's Christmas, and then their grandma died, and then they're going through a hard time, and then before you know it, you've been with this person for like 4 years, and you're like, how did I get here? And like freaking out. That's the devil card, guys. Like the devil on the, I don't know if it's right. No, it's not. On the original devil card imagery, you got Baphomet doing his little as above, so below thing, and there are 2 people on collars and chains connected to his statue. And I want you to think every single stupid excuse that gets made to stay where you are is another link in the chain. Wow. His birthday, his grandma, and before you know it, there's a whole chain and you're stuck. And like, if you don't just go, well, there's no good time to hurt somebody's feelings and take your space, yeah, it's unpleasant, but like, you don't get stuck. So once we sit in the devil for too long, because if you don't get out, this is what happens, we go into the tower because the universe is going, fine, you didn't want to move? Moved ya. And like that's basically what it does. The tower is upheaval, it is change, it's usually chaotic, it's usually stressful. The best way to describe it is in our lives, we build these little houses and they keep us safe. But after a while, we outgrow them, and it becomes like Alice in Wonderland, when like all of her arms are out of the house.
It looks like
literally, like it's we get like super stuck.
Wow.
And the tower comes and kicks it, and it shakes everything up, and the bricks that are supposed to stay, stay. The bricks that can't handle it, can't handle it. You're allowed to be sad and mourn their absence, but do not try to shove them back in the wall. Like, oh my God, like, thank you. Like, that, if you become a regular of mine, that is when I start to yell at you. That is when I'm like, bitch, get it together. Like, I had this one client, she's so funny. I literally got on the phone with her. I was like, Maya, break up with him! Like, screaming. I felt so bad for, like, anybody walking past. They were probably like, who is that crazy tarot lady? I do not want a reading from her. She's gonna yell at me. Like, but to be fair, she's been my client for 2 years, so I can yell at her. We're friends now. So, I want to angle them so they can see it.
Yes.
So, this really, again, pick apart the imagery. Do I even need to tell you what the tarot card means? Do I need to tell you? Just look. Like, bad time. Like, because here's this crown. This is our ego. This is what we topped it with. And we're like, right on top. And the universe with its funny little lightning bolt went, oh, that's cute.
That's cute.
Oops. Like, and kicks it over. And here's the problem. These two poor guys in the tower when it caught fire. This is a bad place to be. It's an on fire tower. You don't want to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
You also don't want to jump out the windows without looking either, stupid. There's rocks. Like,
Yeah.
So it's very out of the frying pan and into the fryer. Like, it's real bad. Because this is it's really easy in a tower to panic. It is really, really easy. Because we're freaking out, we're uncomfortable, everything's changing. It's really normal to be like, oh my God, and like kind of grab onto stuff. Not what you're supposed to do. You're going to break your hand if you try to do it. Like, there's a quote that I saw somewhere. It's like a poet and she's great. And she describes at one point that everything she loves has claw marks on it. And it's like, ooh, girl, that's someone who the tower has come for many, 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 many times to teach them that lesson. And they kind of need to learn it. Because sometimes you just got to let shit go. And, like, sometimes, yeah, they still should have gotten out of here. But in their panic and in their no thinking and in their like, this is bad and I want out, they just jumped and didn't look and they fucked themselves harder. So it's really important when the tower happens to keep your head, please remain calm. But please approach the exits with caution. Do not trample anyone. It's literally that simple. Like, and it's really hard to do when we're in an emotional state. We all go through fire drills. Like, no one's gonna walk calmly. We all know we're all gonna panic and scramble. Like, everybody talks like that. But you shouldn't do that. Like, so once we kind of have this moment, thankfully, I don't know if she's anywhere. Thankfully, the star shows up. Yeah, I don't know. Thankfully, the star shows up. The star brings us a breather. After all that, she helps us rest. She helps us reorient. She's the calm after the storm. She helps us recover. She helps us get in tune with our spirituality. She's the part of us usually lying down on the floor going, oh my God, that sucks, what happened? Like, and kind of like getting ourselves together. She teaches us how to find peace and how to find new hope in this new situation that we've kind of found ourselves in. Then after that, though, we have the moon, because it's really easy after this, when we're very wounded, to start bullshitting ourselves, right? We've all had the breakup where he's an asshole. I mean, he's not great, but like, I think you're just hurt, bestie. Like, I think your feelings are just hurt. And that's really normal. I get it. I have so many people all the time, he's such a dick. And then they explain, and I'm like, I think your feelings are just hurt. Like, I'm sorry. Like, things can be two things. Good people can hurt you. Like, it can happen. And it's really easy with the moon to start to delude ourselves when this kind of happens. So it's really important that the moon is a warning. The moon's like, hey, stop that. Like, and the moon will teach us how to shed those things and how to get rid of them. And also, usually, it's in the calm after this that all the stuff we repressed comes up. And that's also what the moon tends to bring. It's all the stuff we repressed. It like brings it up to the surface. And then after the moon, though, we go right into the sun, which is like, hey, out of that dark night of the soul, we come into this bright, shiny new day. It's a fresh start. It's a rebirth. It's joy. It's peace. It's rest. It's just the universe giving you a bit of a break. And it kind of like, it helps you re-find the goodness in the world, which I think is something that a lot of people kind of suck at finding when they're really going through it. And then after the sun, we go into judgment, which is like our ego being rebuilt after this. This is learning, because a lot of times after this, we forget how to trust ourselves, right? Because like this was really hard and we feel really stupid and we're embarrassed. But like your judgment is to teach you how to trust yourself again. It's to teach you how to come home. It's to teach you how to come back to yourself. So that is a big one with judgment. And then, is judgment the next one? There's no way. in a way, no, I just mean in my book. My notes are all over the place. My notes are wild. Yeah, that's so weird. It's not in here. Oh well. It's literally fine. I don't need it. I just use it to combat my ADHD. So when it comes to the world is completion. It's coming to the end of things. It's everything. It's your fool's journey fully finished. It's all the rewards that come from all the hard work. And then usually when the world's over, you go right back to the fool. You go right back to feeling buck-ass naked again and we start all over. Wow. So I'm gonna barely, because we've got like 10 minutes left, so I'm gonna get into the very barely tiny teeny openings of the fool because I really want to get into the meat and potatoes big time next Saturday, and I don't want to waste my time on like the little things. Because look, it's the same. I'm the same with teaching classes as I am with being in them. I hate the introductory one because I want to get into the fucking meat and potatoes. Like, it's like, this is fun. I could talk about this all day. But like, again, you saw me at Judgment. Oh my God, I could rip into this shit. This is the fun stuff. This is what I want to talk about. So, we're going to give myself a little bit of that because I'm selfish and it's my class and I can do what I want. So, with all of the cards, I like to give journal prompts because they can help you better understand the card. I'm not your mom and I'm not your teacher. You don't have to go home and do it. But if you sit and like stew on it for a little bit, I'll be happy. So with this one, create a goal you want to accomplish and then be realistic as hell about how you are going to get there. Because that's what the Fool is. And usually we need a little bit of realism with the Fool because it's really easy to be like delusional and like go skipping off. So when it comes to, that's so funny. My notes were better than I thought they were. So when it comes to the Fool, if you're pulling this as a yes or a no card, it is not only a yes, it is a yes. It is a really excited, big yes. Like when I have people who are like, should I do it? When I pull the Fool, I'm like, oh my God, go right now. Like leave my appointment, end it early, get the fuck out of here, go do it. Like it's so, like I need you to like go and do it that day or I'm not gonna lose sleep. Hi, Miss Rose. Thank you for flickering the light. Exactly when I looked at it. Hi. Hi, Miss Rose. One of the house spirits lives in here predominantly. She's the wife of the man who built the place. Her name's Miss Rose. She's lovely. And I used to do my readings in here, and we were best friends like the whole time because she was in the room I worked in all the time. Yeah. So like we were best friends, and I don't get to be in her often. And every time I do, she's like, so cute. We love Miss Rose. Literally, I came into work one day like right after my dog died, and I was like really trying to keep it together, and I walked in, and I usually don't see her, and I walked in, and she was just like, honey, I'm so sorry, and I was just like, okay, like crying, like ugly crying at work, because she was just so nice. We love Miss Rose. Hi, Miss Rose. Like, every time I look at the light now, it's flickering. So, like I said, big fat yes. Also, again, this is what I mean when I say I want you guys to like walk out of here kind of intermediary. We're going to go into the planetary associations, like all like the big stuff. So the Fool is associated with the planet Uranus. You can call it Uranus if you're 7, but like, you know, Uranus. It's associated with the planet Uranus. The thing about Uranus as a planet, it is the planet of technology, rebellion, and innovation. Sounds very young, don't it? Sounds very like the Fool's energy that we were just kind of talking about it. Deities, if you use this to like as a calling card, you're going to find Pan, you're going to find Zeus, rarely, very rarely, there's other cards Zeus will come through, but sometimes he'll come through this one. Honestly, most of all, Hermes. Hermes loves this card. This is like his favorite card. Can't talk about him, otherwise it's like, huh? Hi, Hermes. Hermes loves this card. If you use this for angel identification, this will be Archangel Raphael. Archangel Raphael is a big fan of this card. Archangel Raphael is honestly, I would not be shocked if him and Hermes get coffee on like a regular basis. They are cut from the same cloth. Like, wow. They are, Archangel Raphael is really like, he's kind of like young. He's like fun. He's not so like straight-tied as like anyone ever talks to Michael, he's very straight-tied. Like, I joke that he's the manager of like an on-fire office building that like he just needs to take care of, but also is supposed to help shepherd humanity. So the man is spread so thin, it's like, hi, yes, what do you need? Oh, it's my pager. I know it's my pager. You don't hear it. What do you need? It's so funny. Even that was too much emotion. He's very stiff. Every time I get him, it's so funny. He comes in, First he comes down, which few angels do. I think he just likes the theatrics. Like, he comes down and it feels like a 50-pound weighted blanket has come over the whole room. And it's very intense. Angels are intense, man. It scared the shit out of me the first time one of them. I was like, hi. Like, they're intense. And he's so just like, if people work with him, they know, like personally, if they communicate with him, he is the one who like will just show up and it's like, what do you need? He's like, study. And then like leaves and he just like is constantly pushing you for your growth. He's great. So now one of the things that I kind of like to do with the Fool, with all the cards, I drew my own pictures, even though I'm not an artist. But I want you guys to kind of maybe figure out just what we know. It's super minimalistic and it's on purpose. Mm-hmm. Why do you think it's that design? When the Fool is like kind of fun and like doesn't really waste his time, it's a little reckless. Like we're kind of getting like that like teeter-totter building block vibe off of it. It's like, oh, I could go this way, oh, I could go that way. That's kind of how the Fool tends to feel. So that's kind of why we have it this way. I looked up a whole bunch of like minimalistic tarot designs and I just kind of stole them. Mm-hmm. And I really love it for this one because breaking down the symbolism, so the Fool's number is 0, which is really weird. It's like, it's 0. Yeah, not even 1. Super strange. And it's to make it kind of an enigma. 0 is a weird number. It's especially in numerology. It's the number of unlimited potential, which I really think is the best example for youth. You can literally like be anything, be anyone when when you're 7. It's like, I'm gonna be an astronaut, marine biologist, space princess, and it's like, yeah, that sounds about right. Like, yeah, sure, that sounds totally feasible. And like, that is really the energy of like 0. That's the energy of the Fool. So that's kind of why they go hand in hand. Also, because the Fool, like we talked about, is a non-stop cycle. You start the Fool, you end the world, you go back to the Fool. So like that's kind of why we also have that 0. So on the Fool's imagery,
he's down there.
Oh, he's right. So far away.
Hidden.
That's so annoying.
He has a little birdie on his head.
That's so annoying, bro. Oh, that's right. Because we moved. He's back here. So he stands on the edge of a cliff in the original imagery, and he is like going on an adventure. He has the every time I see it, have you guys ever seen the Hobbit movies?
Yes.
You know when Bilbo is in a full sprint, I'm going on an adventure, like top speed? That is the Fool's energy. That is exactly what it's supposed to be. Bilbo running out of the Shire into a literal campaign where he's going to have to steal from a dragon. But he don't care. He's having a fun time. He's going on an adventure with a bunch of dwarves. Like, that sounds fun as hell. And that's kind of the whole point. So here he is. There's our Fool. So quite literally hopping off this cliff. He's not even looking. He's not even looking down. He's like, like just heading his own way. Again, this is kind of meant to show that like, it's that child recklessness. He's not really worried. Also, he has like, when they're like, I'm running away. You tie stuff on a stick and you make your way out. That's what he's got. He's got all his stuff on a stick. And it's kind of meant to show he has everything that he needs. He's watching the sky because he's like, I don't need to see where I'm going. The universe has me. I'm not worried. And he's just kind of like walking, not really terrified of anything. He has a little white rose in his hand. This is all about purity and innocence because, youth. That little white dog that's coming with him, that's also going to be about loyalty and protection. You're going to see this all the time because I'm going to talk about it all the time. If it's white, it's purity, innocence, and childhood. And it's what they're all going to mean. Like you're going to hear me say it so many times. Like, white horse, white hair, white horse, like, white, oh my God. Like, it's everywhere. And it's just all, period, innocence. Like, I'm going to say it so many times, I'm going to wear myself out. But it's the truth. Also, that little white dog that's, like, nipping at his heels, he's encouraging him. He's also, like, guiding him. Again, it's the loyalty. It's the people close to you. The mountains in the background hint at a challenge. You're going to hear me say that a lot, too, because there's a lot of mountains on the back of cards. And, like, that's very much, like, it hints at challenge. But, again, the Fool's focus is on the beginning of the journey, not all the way over here. He's got so much time before he gets here. He does not need to worry about it. So when it comes to the beginning of the Fool's journey, get over here. Like I said, we are like completely newborn and like kind of naked and we're like a little stressed out. So when it comes to, I'll give you guys like the keywords and then like I said, we'll really rip into the meat and potatoes next week. The keywords when he's upright, beginnings, innocence, spontaneity, and a free spirit. When he's in reverse, we are holding back or we're being reckless. So we're doing a little too much of that energy. So like I said, when it's upright, it's a card of new beginnings, it's opportunity, it's potential. The Fool welcomes walking into the unknown and like not really worrying about it too much. Even if you're not 100% on where you're going or how it's going to work, you're kind of being called to commit yourself. Again, this is the like, oh my God, just jump. Like just do it. Don't look, just go. A lot. I need my glasses on. Blind. This is like not, this is bad. My vision's gotten worse. Like, God damn. Oh my God, so much better. Wow. I just thought I had bad handwriting. But like, so like I said, it kind of tells us where you're going. You're being called to commit yourself and follow your heart. You're usually being called to take a pretty big leap of faith half the time. Also, with this, you're kind of expected to trust the universe. Be open, have a curious mind, let your mind change, let your ideas change. This is all about new experiences and growth. Experiment, relax, play, have fun. Oh my God, embrace your inner child. This is such a big inner child card. Like one of the only other inner child cards that's this loud, I think it's like the Six of Cups. So like really give yourself some time with them. And again, when it's in reverse, you might not be ready to bring your ideas into the world just yet. That's okay. But check because something's holding you back. It might be because you're not ready. And if that's the case, that is totally fine. But it could be insecurity or worry or fear. And maybe this is like all my air placements coming out, but like I simply cannot allow people to make decisions when they're based off misinformation. Like I just can't. Like you're robbing yourself of something when you could be having something else. And the only reason you're not having that thing is simply because you don't know. Oh my God, drives me nuts. Like, and a lot of the times when the Fool's in reverse, sometimes we're not allowing ourselves to have things because of that. Because of this misinformed belief that we can't do it or we're not going to do it right or we're going to mess it up. And again, that's not the truth. That's our doubt talking. So it's really important to like kind of make our way through. Sometimes fear of the unknown is going to paralyze this, and that can kind of happen when the Fool's in reverse. But we have to balance this fear out with the knowledge that acting in our intuition almost always works, right? Almost always. And again, the times it don't, probably wasn't your intuition. You were probably acting on impulse. That's why we talked about learning the difference between the two. That's why it's so important. On the other hand, it can mean that you're taking too many risks and you're trying too hard to live in the moment. And I really need you to remember that there are consequences to your actions. Otherwise, the universe is going to remind you and it's going to suck. Basically, what you need to do is look at the bigger picture. Keep that impulsive free spirit. Just make sure that like it doesn't cause selfishness or it doesn't cause you to like get your head on your ass. Or like I say all the time that when I was a kid, I was really, really, really lucky because I was dumb, not stupid. And there's a huge difference. Yeah. Stupid is dangerous. Dumb is just dumb. Like, and that just is what it is. Dumb is reckless. Dumb is like mildly dangerous. Stupid, not good. So like that's kind of with the Fool. It's important to check in with yourself. Now, like I said, when it comes to readings, yes, no, this is a big enthusiastic yes. If you're doing this for like past, present, future, this is the past. They've already made the leap. They've already made the jump. The rest will show, like the rest of your card pull will show them how this is going to go. Usually if you pull for the past, it means they made the jump probably not that long ago. So like you usually need to know where it's going. In the present, they are or are about to take this leap. The past card's going to remind them of how they got here. Again, the future's going to show them how it's going to go. And if it's the future card, they're probably approaching that leap of faith. And you need to like encourage them to take this new opportunity. The present card's going to tell you what they need to keep in mind. The card in the back will show you what's influencing all their choices. That's if you do spreads. I'm going to go into spreads later. I don't use them, but we're going to go into them because they are important, I guess. And then that's basically going to be it for today. I split up the major arcana a little differently because I think it's more fun that way. So we're not going to go perfectly traditional now from this time on. We're going to start with the Fool, but from there, we're going to focus on the women of the major arcana first because duh. So the Divine Feminine has many faces and so many lessons for us. From deep spiritual mysteries of the High Priestess to the motherhood and abundance of the Empress to all that like elegance and courage that strength has to all like the righteous fury and unyielding nature of justice. Like it's all that shit's the women, baby. Like that's all where that is and we love it. And then we also have like the star and its gentle creation and expansion and balance, and the world. We see all these aspects. You know, we go from Madonna to Whore to Maiden to Mother to Crone to Mary to Lilith, and that's really what I want us to like really touch on. So we're going to start with the Women of Major Arcana. That's going to be next Saturday.
Woo! Thank you.
Thank you. Like I said, we're going to do the High Priestess, Empress, Strength, Justice, Star of the World. We're not going to get through all of them, because I usually do like anywhere from like 2 to 4 cards a class, because the Fool's the easiest and like not the deepest.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the rest just keep going. The High Priestess alone, this lady, it's gonna take me 10 minutes just to get through all the imagery on her card. All
Oh my gosh,
friggin'
I'm
shit.
excited.
You see this? The scroll, that's important. This is important. Both of that's important. That's important. That's important. The color she's wearing is important. Literally,
Wow.
everything's important.
Wow.
It's gonna take forever. Like, so that's why we really take our time to like get into them, because like, oh my goodness, like some of them are super easy. Some of them, like last time I taught this class, it was so funny because like I'd do the imagery, I'd be like, yes, dog means this. Okay, next one. And then I would get to the next one, and I'm like, all right, so for this to make sense, I'm going to have to explain like half of Greek mythology. So just like sit, get cozy. We're going to speed run like 8 different myths, and then this will make sense. Like, it's so annoying. But
Awesome, though.
it's
Thank
fun.
you.
That's why I like learning tarot, because it opens the doors to learn so many other
Wow.
things. Like, again, picking apart this, like, that's what got me to read the Bible. Because I was like, you know, I was the most like, I'm a witch. I don't read that shit. Like, what are you talking about? They burned my ass. I'm not reading that. Like,
Yeah.
And then it was this, and it was like, oh no, it's the people that are the problem, and it's the book that like actually has a lot of openings for that, and like the Bible's super witchy. So like
That's awesome.
getting into that kind of opened me into that, and then that also helped me get over my religious trauma, which helped me work with angels and helped me open up to all these other things that I would have been so bitter about if I didn't do that. And it all started because I was playing with cards when I was fucking 10. Like,
Awesome.
so it really opens all these really awesome doors. And again, that's why I really want to go into all of it, because so many tarot classes just are like, this is what it means, this is what it means in reverse. And that's important, but like, all this extra
I want
information.
the knowledge.
Like,
Yeah.
there's so much extra info. And like I said, I feel like, and like, I don't know, I feel like if you guys show up to a class beginners and you leave beginners, I failed at my job. Like, you should walk out at least like advanced beginners or like baby intermediate, like
Yeah.
one or the other. You might not know how to like you might not be super comfortable in your ability to like read yet, but you should walk out, no, fucking cards, man. Like,
Yeah.
and all the weird extra stuff that like, I think it can save your butt. Like when I was first learning, y'all, I got ADHD. This was so hard when I was first learning. This was so fucking hard.
Yeah.
I needed whatever anchors I could have, and I was a myth kid. I loved mythology and the fact that I could pull things apart. And like, again, the moon. Yeah, it's hard to tell that it's about deception and lies, right? Because like that's kind of hard. But remember I told you all about repression. See that little guy coming out of the water? Like a little fucking monster. There's a card art that's really cool. It's like this scary like banshee like dragging herself out of the water, and it's like that is a scorpion. That's Scorpio. That's all your big repressed emotions, your trauma, your deep feelings that you shove all the way down to the bottom of this lake, and sooner or later that bitch will come out. And usually when it does, again, it's hard to tell because there's not much illusion here, but is this card not utterly batshit? Like,
Yeah.
we have we have a dog, we have a jackal, we have like the sun and the moon, and
I
it's
love it.
raining, fire, and there's like 2 pillars, and then there's this river and these mountains and a fucking lobster. Like, it's really weird. It's
Yeah.
really weird. And that's kind of the point, because when all this repressed shit comes out, it causes havoc that doesn't make any fucking sense.
Yeah.
Like, and that's kind of where you can pull that all apart. So, like, you might not get illusions, but you are going to get, like, oh, you're repressing stuff, and it's coming out, and you're having a time. Like, it's made everything weird. You might not know illusions or anything else, but you're going to know shit's weird. You're going to know stuff's gone sideways.
Yeah.
Like, stuff is not how it's supposed to be. Or, again, this is the Nine of Swords. Just looking at the imagery. What do you think that means? I'll tell you one thing. The swords, they represent your brain. They represent mentality. So what would you put, just picking apart the imagery?
They're not in good headspace.
Yeah, we're stressed, right? We're stressed, we're up at night, we have all these 9 swords looming over us.
Yeah.
You know what this card means? Anxiety, not sleeping well,
Wow.
having too many thoughts, thought spiraling, your guilt, stuff eating you up at night, regrets, overthinking. It's right there in the card.
What's on the blanket in that?
Is it just like little nothing?
Oh no, everything,
Like
everything here
roses.
means stuff. So yeah, all these roses here, this is the self-love that we're missing. And all this blue, this is the intuition that we're not listening to.
Wow.
And it's our way out. But instead we're pulling it over ourselves
He's
to like
wearing
shield
white.
us from it. Yeah, he's wearing white.
Wow.
Because he needs to let himself start over.
Wow.
But he's got all these fucking swords hanging over him. It's really hard to sleep when you got 9 swords just pointed down at you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's gonna be it. I'm gonna get out alive. Bye. By the way, I almost exited out and didn't say bye. That would have been rude as hell.